Welcome back, everybody. Tonight, or tomorrow, or next week, who knows? But we should have the final election results of 2022 at some point. I guess it just depends on how fast election officials want to do their job. Nevertheless, down in the state of Georgia, Senator Raphael Warnock is in a Senate runoff election against GOP challenger Herschel Walker. And as polls close in less than an hour, we have so many questions to ask. Well, in the 11th hour, I am convinced that there is nobody better to ask than our good friend of the show and former representative from Georgia, Doug Collins. Doug, thank you for coming back on the show.
Oh, man, it's always good to be with you.
I want to ask you, like I said, polls closing shortly. What do you think is going to happen? How has in-person voting looked today? Read the tea leaves for me.
Well, it's a mixed bag right now. But the thing about it is, though, is the Herschel Walker campaign had to have a good day today. And I've gotten mixed reports. It started off slow. We've had a lot of rain in Georgia earlier. But it's gotten better. And I've heard reports now in some of the suburb counties, the Republican suburb counties, in which they had very long lines toward the end of the day. So that plays well. But we have to be honest. The Democrats came off of early voting. They're doing it much better than we are right now. They're using all the rule book to get votes in. And they had a pretty healthy lead probably coming out of the early voting cycle. So the Walker campaign had to turn out votes today.
Well, and Doug, this seems to be, on the Democrat side, a machine that they are perfecting as every election goes along. Now, Republican voters specifically, have had a lot of questions about especially the 2020 election, but also the 2022 midterms. There in Georgia, are you confident that elections are more secure now and were for the midterms than they were back in 2020?
Yeah, I think so, because you had, the SB 202, the famous Jim Crow 2.0 of the president and everybody else who made such amazing claims about voter suppression and everything. Look, we've had higher turnouts than we've seen before. Really, for the most part, again, you have certain counties who, they just sort of fixed on stupid. I mean, they can't get, they're going to do dumb things. And it's amazing to me, the election boards have one job every 2 years for the most part. And a lot of them have trouble doing it. And we saw that in Arizona. But Georgia seems to have, the new law seems to have helped in that. You're going to see that tonight, I think, in the vote count. It's going to come back quicker. We saw that. It really surprised a lot of us 4 weeks ago when the Fulton County, DeKalb County, Cobb County, those were reporting, vast amounts of early voting by 9 o'clock. So, and tonight, I think it'll be even quicker. So I think we're going to see a result tonight. It is amazing to me that Georgia can have a general election, a 4-week runoff period, and still get it done quicker than some in California. It's amazing.
Yeah, I got to tell you, though, I do feel bad for the people of Georgia being hit with a constant onslaught of political commercials because at least the rest of us got done with them a month ago or so. Okay, I wanted to ask you, though, because regardless of whatever disagreements there have been between Georgia Governor Brian Kemp and the former President Donald Trump, Brian Kemp won his reelection in a landslide, and he's very popular in that state. Has he been active in supporting Herschel Walker for this Senate seat? Do you think he's been active enough?
Yeah, he's been active. And again, as you and I and John all talked about it, they had not campaigned together before the general election. I think there was a lot of reasons for that. But at the end of the day, after Kemp was reelected, he fairly quickly made a joint appearance with Herschel. He's cut an ad for Herschel. He did a little video today about getting out to vote. So, I mean, he's done what he can do. But again, I mean, we got to go back to this. And the Walker team has done a good job, but they've had to endure a lot of, and let's just be blunt, self-inflicted wounds in things that were not handled in the primary when they didn't debate. Some of these issues that Warnock has hit Walker on were never fully vetted. But the Walker team has done a good job. And I know that, these are tough cycles to go in, but they've also been outspent by massive amounts. I want to put this number into the listeners' heads tonight, the viewers' heads. Walker raised $21 million in 14 days and was outraised by Warnock by $30 million. Think about that for a second. So, I mean, again, and again, money doesn't always mean you win, but money means you can do things in shorter amounts of time that others can't, mainly in the turnout models and also targeting individual voters through, things like Hulu. I was told today that a friend of mine had one of those virtual reality headsets. I have no idea what they are, but they're supposedly great. He said while he was using his on YouTube, he got 3 virtual reality ads from Warnock.
Good gracious. It makes me think of a quote from House of Cards. something to the effect of power is more important than money, except during elections when money gives power a run for its money. And you're right. I mean, money obviously plays a really big role, but, you know, having endorsements and having people campaign like Brian Kemp obviously does a really good service to whatever candidate it is. What do you make of the fact that President Trump has not traveled to Georgia since he announced that since he announced his candidacy for 2024?
Well, it's interesting. He's not went anywhere, and I think that's an interesting point. But also, I think there was an agreement between the Walker campaign and former president not to come. You know, for a variety of reasons, they'll have to answer those questions on their own. But at the end of the day, I think you made a point a few minutes ago. Georgians are tired. We're tired of this. This is 2+ years that, frankly, that we've been in since 2020. Georgia has been in a campaign mode, and people are tired. And I think some of the rallies, some of the big things, you could see both candidates' attendance at some of their later rallies was lacking. And I don't think it was because people, didn't want to vote for them. It's just because they're just tired of going. And it's the same thing over. So I don't play a lot into it. I think people definitely knew that Walker was President Trump's candidate. And that was enough said. And, having Kemp, who is the governor who won, it was what was needed, because remember, Walker is having to make up a 200,000 vote deficit between himself and the other Republicans from just 4 weeks ago. So that's a big step. Kemp, I think, can help in that.
Okay, I want to switch gears just a little bit and ask you about the speakership race. Congressman Andy Biggs has announced that he's running for the speakership against McCarthy again. What are your thoughts on this?
I think we need to get it together, and we need to get it together soon. And this is playing out. Look, I want to dispel some stuff. I know there's a lot of stuff coming out now saying, oh, if they keep doing this, the Democrats will have the speakership. No, they won't. Okay, let's just dispel that right now. But McCarthy's got to figure out a way out of this. McCarthy is the odds-on favorite because he does have the majority of the votes. Andy Biggs is providing an alternative for some, and there are just some who are not going to vote for him right now, and that's a real problem. So at a certain point in time, McCarthy has to be either assured enough that he can do something to gain a majority on the floor, which is what he has to have, or there has to be a real determination of who is there someone else who the group who does not want to support McCarthy can rally around. Right now, that's not surfaced, and I'm not a big believer that they can bring somebody from that's a non-member to be the speaker, although that is very much under the rules. You can. This is a family issue that's played on a while. It's not good in the long run, but McCarthy has to figure out, this plan. Anybody who is speaker, and that includes Kevin McCarthy, is going to have to deal with a razor-thin majority. And Democrats under Pelosi had a 4-member majority, but they all fall in line. They know who they'll give a pass to. They all fall in line. Republicans are a little bit more cantankerous, but we've got to figure this out. And Amanda, I'm going to make one last statement about this. If they go up there, and if this new House majority, who they've now fought for 4 years to get this, if they get up there and cannot agree on legislation and get 218 votes, not have to worry about the Democrats, but pass stuff that we know they should pass, if they can't do that, if they can't get it in themselves to find compromise to do that, then all they're doing is making speeches, and the American people will see it, and most of us will be very disappointed. They got to get up there and start being what they're called, and that is legislators. That's what they got to do.
Yeah, and Republicans have been given a very, very slim majority, and the promises that they have made. I mean, I don't think that it speaks very well to the future success of this majority, the fact that they can't even get 218 behind McCarthy or whoever it is. So I'm a little worried, to be honest. I wanted to, before we go, though, we got about 45 seconds left, get your take on President Biden's comments about how there are more important things than the disastrous invasion at our southern border.
I think let's just rephrase this. There's nothing more important than the 2024 election and getting him out of there. That's the bottom line. He is completely abdicated responsibility. I mean, if the border being open, the fentanyl running through, the national security threats that are there, and the Americans who have lost lives over illegal aliens who have come here, if that's not enough and our Border Patrol being enough, then I don't know what's important. They just need to keep him away from a camera.
I think you're right. And I think a lot of people are trying to make that happen, but he seems recalcitrant and ignoring them. Congressman, it was so great to have you here with us today. And you can trust that at this rate you're on speed dial, because we will need you back here once results do come back with a post analysis of what actually happens there in Georgia. We'll be right back after these commercials.